Alright, so I'm gonna start therapy tomorrow, so I don't know. Uh, I guess I am just feeling inclined to talk right now. I don't really have too much um, specific that I want to say. I don't really think. I think what I'm running into trouble with is I don't know how to share or contextualize or turn this into a story that makes sense. Um, I'm just hurting. Like, I've been through so much death in my life that by the time that my father died and Pete died, I think it had become kind of just like something I do, something I go through, something I am. I was raised essentially as the little girl whose mom died. I remember um, feeling bizarre when people would find out and hearing my dad talk back and forth with people like, oh, that poor thing, like, and you don't understand when you're a child. I remember just feeling very bizarre because I wasn't crying about my mom every day. You know, I felt like almost too young to have known or missed her. But it's an identity that I had nonetheless. My father's death, however, it's like I'd been preparing for it for years, and now it's done. And the only thing still screaming is that part of me that wants things to be different. Like, they would have to be massively different for my father to have survived. He would have had to stop drinking, stop smoking. He probably would still be taking care of himself. I don't know. I guess if I were to share anything, um, I'm going to therapy tomorrow, and I haven't relapsed. And I won't get into it, but I've been pretty, it's been really thin ice, and it's felt really scary recently, in my own mind. My emotions are so extreme, and I'm lucky to still have my job. I mean, I think most people, I don't think anyone's really upset with me at my job. I had a panic attack and I almost left because when you're having a panic attack, it doesn't feel like you can reintegrate. But I made myself do it and I was fine. I've had plenty of panic attacks over the last 2 weeks. Pete dying really fucking sucked, dude. I wish I could tell him that. I wish I could tell him, you know. I wish I could, and that's the other thing too is it's a lesson. If you think you would be friends with someone, if you do want to include someone, if you can see that someone is hurting, include them, be their friend. It's not. I understand that my father had just died, and I was doing the best that I could. Um, but yeah, just a lesson learned. And this is what like my head is like all the time. Like, I'm almost always on the verge of tears. Almost always there is a thought troubling enough to make me break down. And that's why I'm going to therapy. I need a way to organize my thoughts. I need a safe space to admit my thoughts. But the purpose of this video is for myself 5 years ago. So 3, 4 years ago, actually, is when I found out about my dad's condition, that he essentially wasn't going to be able to make new memories again because of alcohol. And that is almost like hearing that my dad died, because the mind is such an important thing. And that I would eventually learn that that was a mistake. I would take a relationship with my father over hiding from him like I did. I was afraid of the situation. I will have a lot of time to talk about that, but I would have, I probably would have drank 5 years ago, given how tough this month has been. There's been plenty of times where drinking felt like the only option, and I continually talked myself out of it. I mean, therapy is what I'm doing. I also found a Alcoholics Anonymous group that isn't Alcoholics Anonymous. It's actually Buddhist based, which is really nice, and I plan on continuing that. And I have been painfully open with everyone that I know. If I misbehave, if I fall short, if I react in a way that's extreme, I'm trying to immediately communicate with people, like, hey, like, just recently I was very icy to my friend Ethan, and then I was like, hey, I just found out that I got scheduled for Pete's memorial and I have to figure that out, and it's really stressing me out. And if people know, like, if you're just open, and as much as you can be, people are understanding. And I'm learning that too, because opening up and then getting help for myself, like going to therapy, are never the routes that I take in this situation. It's usually substance to make myself fun again, make myself, just trying to roll past what I'm feeling. I'm also crying more than I've ever cried in my entire life, and I chalk that up to not drinking. Like, maybe I would be crying if I was drinking, but um, being sober and crying is like, I'm learning how to do it without it destroying my entire day. Like, anxiety and crying are very linked for me. Like, when I start crying, I like can't calm down. But I'm trying to learn how to cry just because because I'm feeling pain, like crying because I'm in pain, and like letting myself cry when I'm in pain has been very good for me. Um, I read something about how tears are, like, Buddhists see it as like an energetic release. Like, we get emotional knots just like we get physical knots, and tears are like a sign that you're loosening those. And I like, man, yesterday a stranger was really unkind to my boyfriend and I. And in a situation like that, especially after a couple weeks of a really hard time and very emotionally distraught days, having a stranger act out like that feels really, like, really bad. Like, if I'm doing okay and somebody's like that, I'm like, wow, what an asshole. But if I'm like feeling like the world is already a scary place and it happens, it feels really surreal. And I almost had a panic attack, and I calmed down and I snapped at James's dad, which made me feel bad, but I think everybody recovered it. um, but the reason why that hurt so badly was because a stranger could not handle their emotions. That could easily be me with how I am recently. I really, really want to make sure that I'm not, first of all, hurting the people that I love, which is why therapy will be nice, because I can talk to about how I'm feeling with an unbiased stranger. And I also don't want to lash out at strangers who don't deserve it. So Because it's good for me too to not do that. I think everyone is hurt in those situations. I don't really understand why people do that. Anyway, I guess that's it. I don't really have much else to say. Go to therapy, or I don't know. If therapy seems like something like you have to set up insurance for, or um, it seems like a hard thing, like it's absolutely worth. Um, it sucks, and you don't get an immediate reward, but doing it for yourself and getting it set up is always going to be a good step if you feel like you need it. So, anyway, later.